Every Sunday, millions of fans scream at their TV about bad calls. The refs are against us. That was rigged. But here's the real question. Do NFL referees actually impact the game in a measurable way? Or is it just in our heads? Today, we're diving into 5 years of NFL data, over 1,400 games, 19 referees, and more than 16,000 penalties. To answer the question once and for all, and the results might surprise you. Let's start with the obvious question. Are some refs more flag happy than others? And the answer is yes, and it's not even close. Meet Alex Kemp, the NFL's most penalty-prone referee. In 84 games, Kemp averages 12.6 penalties per game. That's a full penalty more than the league average. And right behind him is Shawn Hochuli at 12.3 and Clete Blakeman at 12.2. These crews call significantly more penalties than everyone else. Now flip to the other end, Bill Vinovich. He's our let him play king. Just 10.2 penalties per game over 85 games. That's 2.4 fewer flags per game than Kemp. Think about that. If you're playing a game under Kemp versus Vinovich, you're dealing with 2 extra penalties on average. And over the season, that could be the difference between making the playoffs and going home early. But maybe these differences are random noise, right? Maybe it's the teams they ref and not the refs themselves. Well, that's not true. We ran an ANOVA test, and this is a statistical analysis that tells us whether the referee identity genuinely impacts the penalty counts. And the result? Our p-value of 0.007. And in science, anything below 0.05 is considered statistically significant. So this isn't just significant, it's highly significant. So the bottom line is that the ref you get actually does matter. But here's where things get interesting. Not all penalties are created equal. Holding calls, massive variation. Some refs call 50% more holding calls than others. The p-value is basically 0. Roughing the passer, same story. Huge differences between the crews. But false starts, no difference. Pass interference, no difference. But what does this tell us? Refs have a consistent philosophy on subjective calls. Holding, roughing, but objective penalties like false start, they're pretty universal. Now let's talk about something that every fan swears is true. Home field advantage in penalty calls. Turns out, you're right. Across all games, home teams are penalized 0.35 fewer times per game than away teams. And that might not sound like much, but with a p-value of virtually 0, this is statistically bulletproof. But here's the twist. It's actually not referee bias, it's crowd noise. Look at this breakdown by penalty type. We separated the penalties into 2 categories. Noise-sensitive penalties, false start, delay of game, and offsides, and judgment penalties, holding, pass interference, and roughing. And in dome stadiums, where crowd noises echo and amplify, home teams get an extra 0.28 penalties on average on noise-sensitive calls. And it's statistically significant. But judgment calls, there's no difference between dome and outdoor stadiums with a p-value of 1. Ref call holding and PI the same way regardless of where they are. So the verdict is that away teams commit more false starts and offsides because they can't hear the snap count. And that's not bias, that's acoustics. So here's something the NFL doesn't advertise. Playoff games are officiated differently. Regular season games, 11.7 penalties per game, and postseason games is 9.6 penalties per game. That's a 2.1 penalty difference, a drop of 18%, and the effect size has a Cohen's d of 0.57, which means it has a statistically significant and has a medium to large real-world impact. Every penalty type drops in the playoffs, holding down from 2.9 to 2.2, pass interference down from 1.3 to 0.8, and false starts are down from 2.2 to 1.9. Even the total penalty yards drop from 98 yards per game in the regular season to just 76 in the playoffs. Why? Because the NFL wants playoff games to be decided by players, not flags. refs are explicitly told to let them play unless it's egregious. Alright, final deep dive. Let's look at which penalties have the most referee to referee variation. So first, holding calls. This is where the refs show their personality. Shawn Hochuli calls 3.3 holding penalties per game, the most in the league, while John Hussey calls 2.5. That's a 33% difference. Pass interference, Brad Rogers leads at 1.58 per game, and Scott Novak 1.15. Another massive gap. Shawn Hochuli once again leads the way with roughing the passer at 0.57 per game. Compare that to Craig Rolstad at 0.36. In a league where protecting the quarterback is gospel, there's a huge variance. But here's what's wild. False starts are almost identical across all refs. The range is 0.21 to 0.239, barely any difference. Same with offsides. The takeaway? Subjective penalties, where the refs use judgment, vary wildly. Objective penalties, where the rule is black and white, they're rock solid. So let's wrap this up with the big question. Do NFL referees impact the game? Absolutely. The data is crystal clear. Referee identity matters. You'll see 2 to 3 more penalties with some crews than others. Home field advantage is real, but it's driven by crowd noise, not bias. Playoff officiating is different. There are fewer flags and more leniency. Holding and roughing calls are subjective. Different refs have different thresholds. False starts and offsides are universal. Refs call these the same way everywhere. Does this mean games are rigged? No. But it does mean that who's wearing the stripes matters just as much as who's wearing the jersey. So next time your team gets flagged 12 times and you see Alex Kemp's name, well, you know why. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you want more data-driven sports breakdowns, and drop a comment.